Shannon, did you like him saying this?
T.O. still has not gotten over not being voted on the first ballot. There are very few modern receivers. Now Calvin Megatron is one of the ones. If I'm not mistaken, of the modern guys, Steve Largent, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Megatron.
Yep.
And it still bothers him. And
by the way, just for the record, Shannon Sharpe was a what ballot?
3. I got in the 3rd time. First came up in 2009, didn't get in in 2010, got in 2011.
All right, and just for an example, I throw out Chris Carter. He was
5 or 6 times.
5 or 6?
Yeah.
I was thinking at least 4.
Yeah, no, 5 or 6.
Okay. Right.
He had to wait a while.
Go ahead.
Because he came up before I did and ended up getting in after I did. So he had to wait. And I think the thing is, Skip, is that, and even though he says he's not sliding, anytime you mention somebody got in on the first ballot and you try to accentuate someone else that did not get in on the first ballot, second ballot, third ballot, people automatically assume you're taking a slide. But he said what he's trying to do is draw attention. And I got a chart, Skip. You know I don't really put charts up, but I wanted people to see that I think he has a very compelling case for Torrey Holt. Torrey Holt, when you look at Torrey Holt's numbers through 9 seasons, Calvin Johnson played 9 seasons. Look at Torrey Holt's numbers, look at Reggie Wayne's numbers, and look at T.O.'s. Now, mind you, T.O. didn't become an every down starter until 1999.
Yep.
T.O. had 14 touchdowns and was not a starter.
Yep.
So that was his breakout season in 98, and later they ended up, 99 was his, Jerry's last year there. He ended up moving on, if I'm not mistaken, Skip. Maybe 2000 was his last year there. So if you look at Torrey Holt's numbers, he had more catches, more yards, fewer touchdowns than Megatron. Torrey Holt's been up like 2 or 3 times.
Okay,
Reggie Wayne,
it's 11 seasons to 9 seasons.
Right.
Okay.
But I know I just did this through the first 9 seasons.
Oh, first 9.
Those
okay,
are Torrey Holt's numbers through the first 9 seasons.
All right.
And plus, look at Torrey. He also had to share those catches with who, Skip?
Isaac Bruce, who is in the Hall of Fame.
Pro Football Hall of Fame. Reggie Wayne had to share touches with who? Marvin Harrison, who's in the Hall of Fame. I think Marvin might have went on the first ballot, too. But anyway, Skip, so I think that has a lot to do with it. He's like, what's the criteria? At first, you know, we need to see you need to play longevity. And then they said, well, we need you to dominate. And T.O., I still believe this goes back to T.O. Although he's accentuating Torrey Holt, although he's highlighting Reggie Wayne, this is his argument. He's like, bruh, look at my numbers. Look at what I've done. Look at the all-pro teams with 3 different teams, leading the team in receiving for so many different teams. Look at my numbers. I put them up against anybody. And y'all made me wait. And he said, y'all did me so dirty, you changed the rules. You said you could use sideline behavior. You could use locker room behavior to keep a guy out of the Hall of Fame. Well, that had never been in the bylaws because you said only what happened on the field of play, because you disregarded it with everybody else in the history of the game. But when it came to my turn, you said you could use this as a criteria. Torrey Holt, I think Torrey Holt has a more compelling argument than, per se, Reggie Wayne. But Reggie did play alongside Marvin Harrison. He had to share those catches. Torrey Holt had better numbers in 9 years, even though he had to share catches. Megatron deserved to be in there. But I believe T.O. should have been a first ballot, and you can make a compelling case for Torrey Holt, even if you want to make one for Wayne also. But I believe Torrey Holt has the more compelling case.
Okay. Let's start with my man, Terrell Owens. I do not want to reignite my feud with him today because I made it very clear how I felt about him, which is why I nicknamed him Team Obliterator, and let's leave all that out. He did finally get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
God bless him, but it didn't change his outlook on the Hall of Fame.
No.
So he's going to carry this grudge for 2 reasons, because it's in his heart, number 1, but it also keeps him relevant this time every year, because without it, you kind of fade into the background. But every year he's going to say, no, I'm not going to participate, and hey, look what you did to him, and look at what you did to him.
Right.
And so now he's the anti-Pro Football Hall of Famer. Even though he's one of your brethren now, he's not going to participate as one of your brethren. In part, it's because that's sort of who he always was. That's how he grew up. That's sort of how he was raised. He was always kind of an outsider looking in, and he's still going to be an outsider looking in. And I get it, and he's smart about it. These aren't absurd arguments that he's making.
Right.
But I'm going to go back to my rule of thumb about your Hall of Fame. I want to be able to say, is he a Hall of Famer? And I just immediately say yes.
Right.
Is Megatron a Hall of Famer? Yes, he's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
He transcended. He's got the single-season record. He should have the single-game record, but Flipper Anderson went out of his mind one game for the Rams.
Well, he did that number on y'all, though. You know, he got the 330 against
He got the
you
330 against the Cowboys. Hey, I watched every last second of it. You knew who got victimized the whole game was Brandon Used Car.
Yes, he did.
Whew. It was something.
It was.
And, in fact, Terrell participated, as I remember, in that game because that was the game, I think, that Jason Witten said, you know, keep your eyes on the field. He was on the sideline, belly aching about something. But it went to the wire, but Megatron was special. He did it to Dallas at Dallas in a big comeback win, where Romo started throwing interceptions to Bobby Carpenter for pick sixes. But the point is, if I say that name, Calvin Johnson, you just say yes. But if I say Torrey Holt, this is just me, if I have to think for a second, then he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's just the way I look at it. That's my rule of thumb. Torrey Holt, yeah, maybe. No, he's not. Okay, so if you have to second-guess it for a second on Reggie Wayne, you definitely have to second-guess on Reggie. You say, Reggie Wayne, I don't know. He's not, because it should be transcendent. And the argument you make for Torrey Holt, I can make against him, is that he did also benefit from a Hall of Famer, Isaac Bruce, and that it would help him get more single coverage, right? So he was putting up some numbers opposite Isaac Bruce because at that time, Isaac was considered a little scarier than even Torrey was. And they played together for 3 of his 7 Pro Bowl seasons.
But Torrey, man, Torrey had like 5 or 6 straight 1,500-yard receiving seasons.
No, he was.
He had big. Skip, for me, the way you have to look at it and have to look at the guy in his era. I think that's the only way to do it justice, because if you start trying to say, well, the guys in the 70s, dudes only caught 300 passes. Yeah, but everybody ran the football. Nobody really threw the football. If you caught 50 passes in a season, that's the equivalent of catching 100 passes in today's game, because everybody ran the football. But if you look at it when they played, Torrey Holt was a dominant player in the era in which he played in.
Okay,
and that's the only way you can do it, Skip.
Okay, here's another stat for you. In Torrey Holt's 11 seasons, he made 1 first-team All-Pro.
Right.
In Reggie Wayne's 14, he lasted 14 years. He made 1 first-team All-Pro. Calvin quit after 9 seasons, shockingly, prematurely. After 9, he made 3 first-team All-Pros. So it just shows you he was just higher than these guys. Most people would have said Calvin Johnson was a little better than Torrey Holt, or certainly better than Reggie Wayne, right? So you look at who did Megatron have opposite him to take pressure off? Well, really nobody, because
I think he had Roy Williams for like a year.
Well, he had Golden Tate in 2012, did make the Pro Bowl opposite Calvin Johnson. So that was the only other Pro Bowl receiver that he had through his 9 years was Golden Tate one time in 2012. Okay, it's just, I get what Terrell's saying. If you want to do the numbers, the numbers are what you put up.
Yeah,
that speaks loudly.
Yeah, you can make it, like you said, you can make a case for it. But Skip, the thing is, for me, it bothered me at first when I didn't get in. I was like, well, damn, you don't like my numbers this year. What makes you think you're gonna like them next year? I mean, you look at my numbers and what I did that no other tight end had ever done. Had ever had 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 yards. The numbers that I was able to put up, the way I won, and wherever I went, that I won. But they got to the point like, man, I'm gonna have me a good old time. And I talked to every week. I talked to D. Brooks from Derrick Brooks. I talked to Sapp, and I talked to Dion. All 3 first ballot, and it never come up. Hey man, what you do? We talk every single week. I talk to Dion, I talk to Sapp, and I talk to Brooks every single week.
Okay.
It don't ever come up. I don't care. It's okay, bro. You in? My jacket is gold, just like theirs. We both get all the rings come from K. He went to K.
That's true. So what happened on those 2 evenings, the first time and the second time, when you had to sit and wait for the phone call that did not come?
I didn't, you know, my first time, if I'm not mistaken, Skip, I was working. I think I was working for CBS. Might have been first or second time I was working for CBS. And it like you said, it didn't come. As a matter of fact, you're right. It was the second time because we was in Miami. It didn't happen. I was like, damn. And I remember calling I called my brother. I called my sister. My sister was upset. Called my brother. He was upset. I'm like, bro, hey, it'll happen when it happens. I just hope. For me, Skip, the thing is for me is that my grandmother was getting and failing help. And I know she wasn't going to be. Got season in '98, and later they ended up '99 was this